Hi guys, so this is a card process video. This is Halloween, my fourth Halloween card for 2014. And for this card I'm going to do a bit of watercoloring. So here I have a piece of watercolor paper from Target, and I'm using my Tim Holtz water brush. And it didn't have enough water, so that's why you saw it cut off there for a second. But now I'm using my Michaels watercolor palette, and I'm using that to make my little scene in the background. So I'm just using one of the grays to make sort of a walkway. So my idea was to do it like a house, and the kids are going there for trick-or-treating. So that was the idea for this. So there I'm doing the walkway, and then I'm using a dark green color so it'll look like grass. And all these colors are from that Michaels watercolor palette, and I think the brand of it is actually called Art Loft. I actually thought it was Recollections, but now I'm pretty sure it's Art Loft. So now I'm just not worrying about it streaking or anything like that because it's grass and it's supposed to be more of a spooky type scene, so it doesn't bother me if it shows some streaks. So I just wanted to see where I should put the sky, and that's why I put the stamp next to it. So here I'm using the black color to color in the sky, and this is sped up quite a bit just because it's pretty redundant and repetitive, so I just wanted to show quickly how I did that. Really easy to do, and I like that watercolor paper. It's quite nice, although it does buckle when you add too much water, so you have to be careful with that. And now I'm just adding more of the sky onto it because I figured it would show behind the witch. So that's why I'm just putting the paper and getting a general idea of where I should finish coloring in the sky and everything. So here I took out some of those Crayola markers because I want to draw some lines for the walkway, and I also want to draw some grass there at the edge, so it'll make a clear definition between the sky and the grass. So I'm just doing some random little lines so it'll look like grass up there. And the good thing about these Crayola markers is that you can use water on them and they blend a little bit. They are hard to work with because they're not meant to be used like that, but they work fairly well. And here I'm just drawing some lines for the walkway. And I'm getting out my brush, my water brush from Tim Holtz, and you can see that it bleeds out a little bit, or actually a lot, more than I expected. So I just pushed it downward so it wouldn't look like a big mistake. And I just went all over it so it would look more realistic. And you can see the paper is kind of like tearing a bit, not tearing, but I can't think of the word. But afterwards it dries fine, so you won't be able to see that. And then here I'm just coloring in those lines so they won't be just lines on there. I want it to be blended a little more. So I just colored it out so it would have more of a shadow. And I'm just filling it in because it was a darker gray than what I had originally colored. So I just wanted it to blend in together nicely. So now I have the base of my scene. It doesn't look too pretty yet, but like I said, with watercolors, the more it dries, the nicer it looks. Now I wanted to make like a porch, so I'm using this paper from the Fancy Pants Everyday Circus paper pad, and I'm just lining it up on there, and I'm going to cut off the excess, and that's the floor of the porch. And now I got this blue wood grain paper, which is also from that paper pad, and I'm just messing around with it to see where it would look best for my little porch. And here I just fussy cut out that paper, because again, I'm just doing all this by hand. There's no rhyme or reason for it. And I'm just lining up those pieces of paper so it looks more realistic. And I'm using that little tape runner because I have it and I haven't been using it, so I thought I would use it for these card process videos so you won't see that big ATG gun in the way. So those are just strips of paper, and just lining it up on there. And now I'm cutting off the excess from that. Now, I thought it didn't look like a porch there, it just looked a little odd, so I wanted to cut out some more pieces so it would look more like a porch. So I cut out these tiny, or not tiny, but small strips of paper, and in the background you can see that I extended the grass since I knew it was going to show behind there. So there's these small strips of paper, and then I cut out another small strip, and I did this off camera because it was just cutting the small strips. And there I'm lining it up, and I think that made it look more like a porch, and I wouldn't have to explain what it is to people. So, and then there's the roof, and I'm going to ink around it with this We Are Memory Keepers Sweetheart Inker, and I wanted to add some foam tape to it, but I wasn't sure where I was going to cut it off, so I ended up putting too much foam tape, but it's fine. I just cut off the excess with my Tim Holtz scissors. Then, I forget what I do here. Oh, I inked around the whole card with that Sweetheart Inker. Right now I just inked around the roof, but I do end up inking around the whole card, which you'll see in a little bit. And I'm just putting the stamp on there, and that stamp is from CC Designs. Her name is Witch Sue, and she's from Roberto's Rascals. And I'll try to put the link below to some of the products I used if I can. And now I'm adding some foam tape. Since the roof was popped up, I want it to be even. So that's why I added some foam tape to her. Now I want to add a little bit more detail to the porch. So I wanted to add a spider web, but I didn't have a stamp that fit there nicely. So I just got out a regular pen and I drew one myself. It's not the best, but I think it got the job done. And it worked for that little porch. So it was pretty easy to draw, and I think you can tell that it's a spider web, so it gets the job done. So there, I just drew it in. I drew in all the little spider web, and then I drew in a small little spider. And yeah, it only has 4 legs. I didn't want to make it look too odd. So I finished that, and I'm just adding some more black around the border. And now I'm getting a gray marker and just adding a little bit of shadow to the porch. So there you can see that. And now is when I'm going around the whole card with that Sweetheart Inker. I like to do this. I think it finishes off the card a little bit more than if I just left it like that. So I wanted to add in some trick-or-treaters since the witch is eating some candy. So I got these stickers that I've had in my stash for a long time. I purchased them at Walmart probably like I think 4 years ago. So yeah, they've been in my stash for quite a while. So I decided to use them on here. And there I'm just messing around with some pumpkins back there, but I didn't like the way they looked. It just didn't look proportionate. So I don't end up putting those back there. You'll see I take those off in a second. So there, I just put that one on the porch because I think that looked more proportional to the card, and then I just took off that one back there. Now I wanted to add a few bats in the sky, so I took out these Martha Stewart stickers and added a few back there. Now I wanted to add a sentiment to the sky, but I didn't want another sticker. I thought it would look like too many stickers. So I took out this Inkadinkado stamp set, and I forget the name of it. If I remember, I'll put again the name down below. And this just says Trick or Treat, and I'm using my Brilliance black ink. And I like this ink when I'm stamping, especially on acrylic stamps since they are harder to get a crisp image with. So I used my stamp press for this and just stamped it down, and I let it go up slowly so I can tell if it's stamped properly, and luckily it did on the first try. So there you can see it just says Trick or Treat. And I wanted to add like some stars to the sky, but without them being too bold. So I just put some little dots with some stickles, and I believe that's the diamond stickles, and this one that I'm using now is the gold stickles. So I just added those to the sky. So there is the outside. I contemplated putting more things there on the grass, but I didn't because it was going to look too busy, and I just wanted to leave it as is. So here I'm finishing the inside, and I'm using some Pebbles paper. It's from the Tricks and Treats paper pad, and I thought that paper was perfect for this card. So I just cut it in half, and I also added a piece in the middle. And here it cuts off because my memory card was full and I didn't notice it, so I finished the card off camera. So here's some candy stickers, and it'll cut off right about here. Yeah, there it cut off. So you'll see it in a second, but here's the finished card. I just had a little bit more grass back there, and pretty much that was it. The witch, I colored her with my Spectrum Noirs beforehand, and I also added some stickles to her dress and hat. As you can see there, I also added some to her little trick-or-treat bag, and I added some stickles to the candy in the boy's hand. And here you can see the candy stickers on the bottom and also the candy corn at the top. And I just wrote happy and added a Halloween sticker, so it says Happy Halloween. So there is my card.